what we're going to do is we're going to go kind of one by one on the products, the different types of compounds that people have heard about. Right. What is what? THC, CBD, FECO, what is it? We're going to recap all of that. There's a lot of details there that we need to go over. Welcome back to our podcast, The Healing Project. I'm Jesus Ramirez, also known as Jesse. My beautiful wife, Isabel. Hello.
Hi, love. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here.
Wow. Okay. So second episode, we've got a lot to cover. We're going to go over, well, to start off with, we're going to recap a little bit about the first segment. If you guys haven't seen the first episode, go back and watch the first episode. It covered our story, goes over how we got involved with all of this.
How we got here.
And really from there, we're gonna talk a little bit more about the products and THC, CBD, FECO. What is it? We're gonna recap all of that. There's a lot of details there that we need to go over, which we'll go over in just a second.
Good. We're also going to be talking to Craig.
We're gonna talk to him in just a minute, but first, let's start with the basics.
Well, if you're watching this podcast, it's probably because you've seen a video of Tino and his dog Shorty, who we helped put her lymphoma in remission using cannabis in our protocols. Maybe you stumbled across this because your loved one needs help or just don't know what to turn to because all the information's out there. It's just so confusing.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to go kind of one by one on the products, the different types of compounds that people have heard about, what is what. And so it's
so confusing. Like, okay, for example, let's talk about CBD. What is CBD?
Exactly. So CBD, everybody's heard about it. There's so many different products out there nowadays that people hear about that are CBD related. So what is CBD? CBD is a compound found in cannabis. It's a derivative of hemp. People want to talk about cannabis and hemp. What is the difference between the two? Well, the real difference between cannabis and hemp is the scheduling that the government gives it. When it comes to cannabis, it's got more than 0.3% THC in it, which classifies it as cannabis.
Right.
If it has less than that, then it's classified as hemp. So in reality, when people talk about cannabis, just know, guys, cannabis is hemp. Cannabis is derived from hemp. It's a hemp-derived product that is called cannabis because it has
that
more
THC
THC than hemp.
Than hemp does. Yeah,
more than 0.3%. And so CBD as a compound itself, it's an acronym, cannabinol. Cannabidiol is the actual name for CBD. Cannabidiol is a compound that, whether it comes from hemp or cannabis, it basically behaves the same. What makes it different? What makes CBD from hemp better than CBD from cannabis or vice versa? What's the difference? At this point, cannabis-derived CBD is better than hemp because it does have a little bit of THC, which allows the CBD to work a little more synergistically to do what it's supposed to do. Now, the THC, when you have that much THC, usually from a product that's derived from cannabis, you'll feel something, but it's the THC that you're feeling. You're not going to feel the CBD. If it's a really good CBD product and you have nothing the matter with you, you usually, even a good CBD product, you won't feel a whole lot because it's taking away issues that you have. So let's say, for example, you have inflammation, seizure disorder, you have a sore back, you have some, diabetes, whatever your issue is that you're trying to get better with the CBD. If you take that from hemp, you're only going to get less than, that limited amount. So when people, when people take a hemp-derived CBD, in the beginning, if they've never taken CBD, they'll feel something.
Yeah, and that's why people feel things for the first week and a half, and then it starts to go away, and then they're like, "What happened?" I spent
because they build the tolerance up to it, and the body over a period of time just doesn't feel it anymore because there's not a whole lot in there. There's a lot of differences between the two that if we got into them, obviously we're going to need to have a show specifically.
We're going to have specific shows dedicated to each compound and what they are and break it down further for everybody. But for now, let's just go over the basics.
So CBD in general, what it does for the body, it has a lot of different elements to it and properties that allow the compound itself to help the human body or any vertebrae. Really, it could be an animal, it could be a person. But the biggest thing is anti-inflammatory. When it comes to CBD, we're dealing with anti-inflammation of the entire body. And really, when you talk about that, a lot of autoimmune disorders are related to inflammation. So if we're taking away that part of it, right, then it allows a lot of things to get better. So CBD, there's more to it, obviously. There's a lot of processes that it helps with. So besides inflammation relief, there's also anti-seizure relief, there's anti-cancer, anti-tumor. It does help with stabilizing the brain, keeping it from overthinking. It does help with anxiety, does help with PTSD. And a lot of it has to do with the balancing of the brain when you get to talking about CBD. So we're talking a lot about CBD right now because Isabel and I, we believe that CBD is really the star of the show when it comes to helping people with cannabis and healing. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that THC is the guy, right? That's the go-to compound. We don't believe that. It's been talked about so much that nowadays everybody believes it, right? And so why is it that THC is so popular? Because it works, right? It does help people with autoimmune disorders, but the lesser known compound CBD, because it's something that doesn't cause you a euphoric reaction. People don't know about it as much because it's one of those things that unless you have a product that is worth anything, then you're really not going to get the benefits from the CBD. So let me give you an example. When we talk to people, they've told us before, hey, I've tried CBD and it worked in the very beginning, but inevitably it stopped working. And then after a while, I didn't feel as much off of it.
That was my next thing that I was going to ask you about is the CBD tinctures. Everybody can say like, oh, I found the CBD tincture at the gas station or at the store. What makes them different?
Well, let's talk about tinctures. What is a tincture?
Okay.
A tincture in the definition of the word means that it's an essence being extracted with another solution, whether it's coconut oil, some kind of an alcohol, or some type of a solution that takes away an essence from organic material, plant material, and now you extract that essence in an oil format maybe, and you dehydrate or you keep it suspended in that solution. And now you have what they call a tincture. It could be a coconut extracted tincture, alcohol extracted. Yeah. There's all sorts of different olive oil, glycerin, MCT oil. But in reality, what we're talking about is a viscous fluid that is now in a bottle that you can draw from that will allow you to draw one drop at a time. And now you have a tincture. That's basically what a tincture is, people. So don't get wrapped up in the whole, well, is a tincture from hemp or no, it's just, we're talking about a suspension of an essence that we can now use.
So what would be the difference between the hemp and the cannabis?
Let's say, for example, people say, I have a CBD that I got at a health food store that's got no THC in it, and it's derived from CBD, and it's got 1,000 milligrams in this bottle, a 1 ounce bottle. What's the difference between that and a 1 ounce bottle of CBD that does contain THC from cannabis? Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing, right?
Yeah.
From things that we've read and people we've talked to, they say that bioavailability within the hemp CBD world is anywhere between 0 to 8% bioavailable, which is not very much.
Yeah.
So if you have a product that you're giving your loved one that's 10 milligrams, they're going to get less than 1 milligram in the bloodstream from that product if it's derived from hemp.
That costs $100 and something.
It's super expensive, and you're
food store.
Yeah, you're not getting anything out of it. On the cannabis side, a CBD product that's derived from cannabis has a fair amount of THC, over 0.3%. That has a higher bioavailability typically. Mm-hmm. And those products, they can range anywhere from 20 to about 30, a little over 30% bioavailability. I don't know. And that's kind of the consensus. And guys, I'm not a doctor or a vet or even a scientist or a biochemist.
Right. Or scientist.
I don't have any of those in my background, but I am an engineer. And the way we have figured a lot of this stuff out is through math. And really, to me, numbers mean a lot when it comes to this. So the reason why I'm saying that is because CBD, when you have a CBD derived from hemp, the bioavailability. So for a long time, people were talking about numbers. How potent
numbers. I know it was for me. It was like, well, how potent is it?
Yeah. How strong is it?
What's the content?
Yeah.
How much is inside it?
Yeah. The strongest is the better, right? And everybody's always wanting to get FECO because it's, and I'll go over what FECO is in a second, but everybody wants to get the strongest thing. Well, the problem with that is that if you have a dog that you're helping with the medicine that's 10 pounds, you're not going to be able to give that 10-pound dog the strongest stuff like you would a person who weighs about 200 pounds.
Right.
And that person can give you feedback on how they feel. Dog's never going to do that. So in reality, what we're doing is we're coming up with protocols that are based off of science. And why are tinctures important? So tinctures, the reason for tinctures in the very beginning is because the way we dose with our protocols, and like I said, I'm going to go into that a little bit deeper in just a second, but the way that we dose, we've developed protocols that include a schedule where we can allow people to dose their loved ones on their own.
Specifically to their
very specific. We have variables that we use that allow us to do that, age, weight, the diagnosis. And from those variables, we have a formula that we've developed that gives us actual milligrams as a goal. So, and I'm going to go into that in just a little bit, but just know, guys, that the reason why we do tincture in the beginning is because it allows us to dose very accurately with a certain amount of drops. So if we have a bottle of medicine that contains 500 milligrams, it's just an example of medicine in it, and each bottle, a 1 ounce bottle, has 500 drops in it. Now we know that that bottle contains 500 milligrams at one drop equals 1 milligram. So now we can dose. If you are a vet, if you're a doctor, if you're, anybody watching this show right now that's a medical professional, you understand you can't tell somebody, hey, take a little bit and increase it gradually over time, and eventually you'll get to the desired dosage.
Pharmaceuticals,
you can't. No, because the reality is that we need to know how much we're giving our loved ones when it comes to these medicines, because in that knowledge, we can now dose more accurately. And if we have any issues come up, we know how to take action.
Absolutely.
Without that, you're guessing. And once something comes up, let's say, for example, you're giving the medicine and the dog has a little reaction, you're not going to know how to react to that reaction.
And do you want to talk a little bit about FECO? So
FECO is an acronym. People hear the word RSO and they think, well, that's the FECO. And what is FECO? What is RSO? All of those are full extracts of the medicine. So FECO is an acronym, full extract cannabis oil. That implies that they're using a solvent, not like coconut oil, but a little bit stronger. Maybe ethanol alcohol is usually a food grade ethanol alcohol to extract the oil from the plant material. And when they're done with that extraction, they dehydrate the alcohol out, and you're left with you're left with a beautiful oil. That is FECO.
It's like a tar-like. Yeah. It's more of a resin, extract.
But that format, the way that they extract that, allows it to be super strong. So you're in the very beginning,
it's super concentrated.
Your tincture could be 1 drop equals 1 milligram
in the oil,
in the tincture oil.
Right.
When you go to FECO could be anywhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 milligrams a drop. It could be anywhere in that neighborhood. So now, why do we need FECO? If a dog weighs under, and this is just based off of our knowledge, the things that we've developed over time, right? The last 10 years, some dogs, if they're under 20 to 30 pounds, just based off of the science, they don't need the FECO because they're so small. We can dose them pretty accurately with just tinctures. And it's enough to get them to a place where they heal and maybe go on to remission, and they get all the benefits that they're supposed to get from the medicine. Now, if a dog weighs 100 pounds, if we continued with the tincture format, what'll happen is we end up giving so much drops. So the volume of oil that we have to give becomes quite a bit.
Right.
And if you have a dog, let's say, for example, that has a hemangiosarcoma or some other type of cancer that is bloodborne, that amount of oil could cause some issues with the GI tract. And we don't want to have any other problems. So we take into account not only the dog's diagnosis, but what is that dog experiencing? Is the dog not eating? Is the dog been, dealing with certain types of GI issues for the last couple of weeks, what have you? All of that has a lot to do with inevitably how we dose the animal or the person. I keep referring back to animals because a lot of the people that tune in, they've been tuning into us because of
Tino and
Tino and the doggies and stuff. But just know we treat everyone basically the same when it comes. Yeah, all vertebrates we treat the same. It's a schedule that we've developed that over time helps people get accustomed to the medicine or build up a tolerance, right? So when we first started, you and I, with this, we experimented on ourselves.
Crazy experimented. We
took the medicine and we waited about half an hour and we seen what happened. And boy, there was times.
Boy, like from a drop to like, hey, let's try half of the thing. And it was like half. Oh my gosh, a few more drops.
I remember being on the moon, like just tripping and thinking, how can we ever give this to or recommend this to somebody?
You're right.
Without them causing this same reaction. Well, we did it to ourselves to see what it does. Now, to go even further into that part of it, we're talking about, we're going into the future a little bit more, but just know that the reason why we're going into all of this is because inevitably we're gonna want to go over those things that have worked for us in the past that have allowed us to help so many people.
Yeah.
So the reason why we have these protocols and going back to the whole protocol thing is because there are so many different variables. There's people that might have autoimmune disorders such as cancer, other autoimmune disorders such as MS, lupus, diabetes, seizure disorder. So even though those are all autoimmune disorders, each one of those has a different way of approaching it.
Sure.
And so let me give you an example. If we have a person that has leukemia and we're helping them with the medicine, it's a bloodborne cancer.
Yeah.
That person is going to require way more CBD than THC. We've seen what has worked and what hasn't worked, and we've seen both sides of the spectrum. When we've given lots of THC and we've given lots of CBD, we've seen the reactions. Now, when it comes to bloodborne type of cancers, we've seen way better results with just CBD.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we started pursuing the CBD route so much more. Nowadays, we don't even really dose people with high amounts of THC. It's needed, to get rid of the cancer, especially for some of the tougher ones like osteosarcomas, brain cancers, and there's other ones that really do require a little more THC. Mm-hmm. That is really the big scope of everything. What does osteosarcoma require? What does lymphoma require? All of that is what we're talking about now, right? How did we develop all these protocols? So, in our dosing, the way that we have basically figured out all of this stuff is through different forms that we've read information. So they do say in other forums, whenever a person has cancer, an autoimmune disorder like cancer, what they need is about 90 milligrams within a 90-day period, 1 milligram a day for about 90 days to get rid of any type of cancer.
For how much pound person or dog?
And they say roughly a 200-pound person. Right. That's kind of the consensus of what they say. Now, we don't believe in that because we've tried it ourselves, and
there's no way
it's hard to function when you have that much THC in your system. I know it's needed, but I think because of how these theories were all developed such a long time ago, people are still holding on to them.
Yeah.
And they haven't really
upgraded themselves.
No, not yet. Stuff. They haven't thought about all these other things.
There's the new CBDs that are out now, like the one that we've been using from Hemptium, which has a high bioavailability that is just taking the medication to the next level. I mean, people are healing on a level where it's rapid.
Well, let's touch on that. Way back when you and I first started looking for cannabis oil to help ourselves and tinctures and FECO and doing the research, we always thought stronger was better, right? How strong is it? And that's what we need, is the stronger, the better. Well, now we know different. You can always make the medicine stronger by giving more.
The best technique, the best extraction method, you can get all the cannabinoids out, but how much are you actually going to absorb?
Exactly. So now the big conversation is bioavailability. For a long time, the strength part, the efficacy, and the strains that they were coming from was the big topic. But that only allows us to understand, maybe the profiles of what we're getting to see if that matches up with what we need. But in reality, what we need to find out is how much are we getting into our bloodstream?
Yeah, how much are we actually absorbing?
That's the goal, because that's what's going to get you better.
Definitely.
The amount of medicine that you're actually absorbing into your body, that will give you those results. And so our topic, a lot of times when people come to us, they're worried, right? They're like, hey, I've heard THC is bad for my dog.
What if I give him too much?
Has told me I can kill my dog with THC, or you're giving your dog THC. How dare you? That's toxic. It's not, guys.
But why would they say that it's toxic, or what would make anybody think that it's toxic?
The reaction you would get. But here's the thing. Okay. If you gave a dog 10 milligrams of THC and you gave a person that weighed the same as that dog 10 milligrams of THC, they would both have a similar reaction. The dog wouldn't be able to express himself and how that dog feels, but the person could. And the person would basically tell us, hey, I feel altered, I feel different, and my mind is kind of it's kind of running away with these thoughts that make me feel a little uncomfortable. Absolutely. Guess what, guys? There is no amount of THC that you can ever ingest. Well, there is, but it's a crazy amount that you can ever ingest, or your dog or your cat or any of your loved ones can ingest, that's harmful, dangerous, or fatal. The amount you would have to take
it. Make you feel that way, though.
Oh, it would make. Oh, yeah, it makes you.
Trust me.
It makes you feel crazy. But here's what the science says. If you were to ingest 1,000 milligrams of THC per pound of body weight, so I weigh 180, I would have to consume 18,000 milligrams of THC to get me to a point where I could potentially pass away. That is literally a bucket full of oil, which, first of all, if I started drinking that, in about 2 seconds, it'd be so nasty, I would stop. And then finally, I would just say, forget this. And your dog's never going to do anything like that, especially if you're monitoring it. So let's explain CBD and the relationship with THC, because as you and I both know now, CBD is a very, very strong modulator of the psychoactive part of THC. So it actually can mitigate it. If you give yourself enough CBD ahead of time before you take THC, it will actually allow you to take the THC without feeling altered. Right. This is how we dose. People have asked us before, members and stuff, how is it that you can help me? Well, in the very beginning, as we start talking to clients that we've helped in the past, we have a system in place where when we talk to them, we grab information from different variables. How much does your dog weigh? How old is your dog? What is your dog's diagnosis? And based off of those variables, you and I have come up with protocols that are specific to each one of those categories. So let's say, for example, a dog that weighs 10 pounds and has lymphoma, that dog's going to take a lot less medicine in both CBD and THC versus a person who has a adenocarcinoma, a prostate type of rectal type of mass. That way, they're going to require a lot more because they're usually bigger. The cancer is usually more aggressive, and it's altogether a different protocol. So whenever people ask us, how do you do it? Is it just a one and done? Can I just give sorry guys, it's not that easy. It isn't that easy, because if we had a one and done solution for your dog, then we wouldn't be here trying to explain how we are able to help people. The way that we help people, it is pretty complicated. It's about a month of dosing that allows us to increase the dosage gradually over time, so that within about a month's time, we get that dog into a place where they're taking so much medicine that it would basically put out 2 to 3 people, but the dog behaves very normal. How is that possible? Because we've gradually gotten the dog there in a way where the schedule increases in amount over a period of time. It's a titration schedule.
Right.
And so whenever we talk to people and they want a simple solution, like, hey, how can I dose my dog? Is it a one and done? Can I give them FECO? I'm sorry, guys, but I can't even answer that, because, you know, and on our forums, on Facebook, stuff like that, when somebody asks that question, I have to give them a huge explanation of why I can't give them a one and done answer, because it isn't a one and done answer. If it was that easy, then you would be able to give a 10-pound dog and a 20 or a 200-pound person the exact same thing, and you can't.
Yeah, absolutely.
To summarize it, the dosing part of it is pretty complicated, but there are resources that we've acquired over time that have allowed us to come up with these protocols, and we do have them. And so, you know, and I'm not saying that it's a perfect system, but we do have a lot more knowledge about it than, you know, somebody who's just starting off. So, you know, we understand people are tuning in to this show because they have a loved one that's sick. They have somebody that has an autoimmune disorder and they're desperate. They're looking for answers. And that is why that's the main reason why we're doing this podcast. Right. But what I'm, yeah. So guys, let's discuss why we need to have a protocol in the first place. The protocol that we have is something that we've tested with other clients that we've worked with, and it's been working. And for that reason, you know, I said before, we're not in the medical profession, but we do have a lot of information based off of the people that we've helped in the past. And so with that in mind, I just want to just let people know that if they do need more information, they could always get a hold of us through our website, healing-project.info, or through our Facebook groups. But we're going to hopefully have more videos and avenues where people can get a hold of us and ask us these questions, along with producing more videos that are going to have this information in it already.
That's exciting.
Yeah, super exciting. So let's talk a little bit about our next guest, our guest that we're going to have on the show.
Okay.
The main reason we've been talking about all this is because we do have in our grasp a product that we've been using through Hemptium.
Yeah.
It's their nano product, their Nanotechnology Cbd, which is, you know, light years ahead of anything that we've ever tried before. Like we said, bioavailability is a big thing. And this new product is 96% bioavailable. Let's get
That's amazing.
through our heads. 96% bio. So we've been using it.
Even imagine the amount of healing can take place with just 96% of it being absorbed into your bloodstream. I mean, that is just healing at its finest.
That's why we're using it. You and I are both using the same product. We're using it for our family, using it on our friends,
I use it on my skin,
on our clients. Everybody that we know now is using this new product.
It's amazing.
With the use of the cannabis oils. Let's just get right into it. Here is Craig Workman of Workman Scientific. We've been talking with him for the last couple of years, going over stuff, and let's just get him on the show. So welcome to our show. Craig, are you
Craig, you there?
Are you there?
I am here. I am here and I am well. Thank you for having me on.
Great. Thank you for being here.
So
it's an honor.
So Craig, I'm super happy that you're on our show. I just wanted to introduce you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and you know, your products and who are you?
You bet. No problem. My name is Craig Workman. I'm the CSO, the Chief Scientific Officer at Hemptium. My background is in biology and biochemistry. I went to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln in the late 80s, early 90s. And I have a small, sharp team of biochemists and research scientists at our headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I think when we think about what's going on in this space, the space that you guys have been so effective in, and there's so much learning to be had, that we felt very compelled a number of years ago. And I'm going to say, in just to put kind of a fine point on it, our specific focus on the cannabis industry goes back about 4 years. And at that time, we had seen, okay, we're kind of sitting back saying, okay, this doesn't look right, that doesn't look right. And it became very apparent that we needed to step in and start bringing a level of scientific understanding to the space. And that's kind of what led us to our brand name, Hemptium. And in our minds, what we thought was, if we could connect consumers, customers, just our friends and our neighbors and family, if we could connect them to the idea that we're a scientific brand and that we're going to talk about the science that supports factually what is actually going on with this botanical. And so we kind of designed everything. In fact, we designed our logo to look like it was an element on the periodic table of elements. I mean, we wanted that feeling of it. Like when they looked at Hemptium, they go, okay, we know this is going to be a place where you're going to get the straight information. You're not going to get sales or marketing information. This is going to be the stuff where the rubber hits the road and I can really grab onto something and hope finally comes true. And so that's kind of where I've come from. I've been a scientist my whole life. I love going super deep on concepts. I love the fact that our tagline for Hemptium is the power of botanical chemistry. I think chemistry is everything, and we can get so much, we can glean so much information from understanding how these compounds work, not only in ourselves, but just in the universe, and how everything kind of comes down, and we can find solutions to issues that, frankly, much of which we create ourselves. So the solutions are out there, the answers are out there, and we are excited to be with you guys.
So Craig, tell us about the Nano CBD. What makes that product so different than anything else?
Well, one thing I would clarify, and I'm assuming there will be scientists and medical doctors on the show with us as well, and that's going to be fantastic. And typically what we do as scientists, we're responsible for testing. You know, we have a hypothesis, we move through the scientific method, eventually we form a theory, we test. It's something that we got to be very careful when we just don't throw out anecdotally related or feeling related. Well, this is how I feel. I feel like this could be right. So one of the main things I'd like everybody to understand is that we're not trying to be really clunky and slow about how we go about things, but this is a scientific approach. And when you talk about why nano, why not nano, what's the state of the industry out there, you know, the thing that really prompted us to jump in, and I'm talking all in, was when we started seeing companies market CBD bath bombs, CBD pillows, CBD apparel. We knew we had to get in. We could no longer tolerate it. I mean, these things have absolutely, literally zero efficacy scientifically. I mean, this is not how these compounds are supposed to work. And so most people have heard about the endocannabinoid system, the cannabinoid system that our bodies create. It's genetics. It's part of our DNA. Okay, well, we know that there's two receptors, but there's also two cannabinoids that our bodies produce endogenously, anandamide and 2-AG. And so when we're looking, and let's say we back out into the kind of the 35,000 foot view, okay, and if you're imagining us looking down on the state of this industry, and we're seeing everybody run rampant with these CBD oils, and you know the claims and the statements, and here's what it'll do. You got millions and millions of people in this country 5, 6, 7 years ago really excited about the possibilities of what CBD can do, and there is tremendous possibilities with the cannabinoids and certainly cannabidiol.
You guys offer a powder, a nanotechnology CBD powder that is so much different than anything we've ever seen and tried. So what makes that technology so special?
Right. And I was wanting to really kind of drive into that, because when you look at this thing on the big picture, you're seeing that there is absolutely nothing taking place in the industry. And we want to say about 90 plus, maybe even as much as 95% of all the CBD marketed today is almost ineffective, if it's effective at all. Now, I know that sounds very contrary to what most people have said, because they say, yeah, I've tried it and it worked.
We've seen it.
But the fact is it's about, like I said, scientifically 6 to 8% max effectivity. So when you have 1,000 milligrams, you're less than a few milligrams of effectivity. You've got a lot of money in that. So the nanotechnology is absolutely what we would consider the over the rainbow. And the reason that technology needs to be instituted in this material is because obviously we've got an oil-based product that wants to remain an oil. Okay. When it's extracted from industrial hemp, or as technically cannabis sativa L, then it's an oil. It wants to stay an oil. And of course, we're taught, or folks are taught, that, water and oil don't mix. Well, we can actually make a mix. And there's a number of ways to do that. The way that we have chosen to create our nanoemulsions is through high amplitude sonic cavitation.
That sounds scary.
Really, it's simple. It's sonic. It's radio waves. It's energy waves that break down the molecules, and then they cavitate. And when they cavitate, they become smaller and smaller and smaller. And what we want to do is we want to get our material broke down to anything less than 100 nanometers. So here's something that people need to understand. And we talk about definitions, terminologies, numbers, and all this type of stuff. And there's so much confusion. People say, well, this company advertises a nanoemulsion. We have no idea how they make it, but it's 10 nanometers, 25 nanometers. What does any of that actually mean? Anything under 1,000 is literally instantly absorbed into the epithelial tissue if you drink it, swallow it through the mouth, cheeks, gums, trachea, esophagus, gut wall, all the way down. We've got absorption there at 1,000 nanometers. 100,000 nanometers is the width of a human hair by comparison. So when we get that small, we've got material that we can get right in through the tissue, and it gets through the tissue, we can get it into the bloodstream, we can test it in blood plasma, and so on and so forth. So the nanomaterial, the nanotechnology that we chose, has an extra benefit. Not only can we take and break down that oil into a form that the body does not have to metabolize. We know that the majority of our material, when somebody consumes it, if they would just take a scoop or two, put it in a little shaker bottle, shake it up, drink it, we know that about 90+% of that doesn't even get metabolized. It doesn't even go through the liver for metabolism. It goes right in through the tissue into the bloodstream. That's how bioavailable it is. And so what that means is they can take that load into the bloodstream with it. And when you're talking about a nano consumable like this, it is what we would consider a beyond and over the rainbow type of a product. There's nothing in science right now that can deliver a better load than what we've got.
This is all THC free, right? You guys
all
don't have
THC free.
No THC.
So you guys are
right.
Your product's legal in all 50 states?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. No THC, not a little bit, but zero, correct?
Yeah. Yes, we can extract out that cannabinoid, the tetrahydrocannabinol. We can get that out in the extraction process and just refine down to the cannabidiol, which we have in a nano form. Now, here's the other thing that's really important, though, is why is it a powder? Okay. Yep. Why is it a nano powder? Okay, it's a nano powder because that is what we discovered and what we knew is going to be the most kinetically stable form that this product can be in. For example, it can be instantly resolubilized into water or any beverage. Okay.
So when you say stable, sorry. When you say stable, Craig, that means it's not going to go bad anytime soon until we rehydrate it.
Well, yeah. For example, a lot of you, your clients and customers, and of course yourselves, you've heard of thermodynamics. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, so there's thermodynamic stability and kinetic stability. We don't want our product being able to be undone based off heat necessarily, or access to sunlight, or any of the dynamic properties that exist in our world. When we have something kinetically stable, in other words, we can keep the cannabidiol stable in a emulsion or in a solution, which we have then spray dry into powder. We can keep it kinetically stable so that it does not degrade. Now, there's a very, very fractional degradation over a long period of time. But the nice thing is that you can put this in a hot beverage. You can put this in hot coffee, hot tea. Mix it in. It's instantly miscible. It goes right into the solution. It doesn't float on top or sink to the bottom. It goes right in. You can drink it. You can put this in baking. You can bake with this material, and the baking temperatures do not destroy the efficacy of the cannabinoid. So the stability that we've got can literally only be undone by a much higher level of sonic amplification than we've already given it now, which is going to be almost, somebody out there is going to say it's possible. Yes, but you're going to have extremely expensive equipment to undo this to the average individual. So I'd almost say 100% guarantee you're never going to unstabilize the material.
Awesome. We've been talking with you for the last couple of years, and in those last couple of years, we've had conversations over bioavailability, efficacy, potency, and all of that. To me now, the bottom line, I think, is just bioavailability. That's, to me, the biggest thing, because without that, we don't know what we're getting into our system. And without that, we can't accurately dose ourselves. Now, when you talk about, Craig, the product itself, what is some of the success stories or some of the things that you've seen with the product itself on your side?
Yeah, it's really exciting. I heard you say earlier, and it's so true, is that the trick with cannabidiol is that most people experience almost nothing. We have a different definition of nothing when it comes to our product, okay? When we have somebody has pain, and we just imagine them to imagine no pain, nothing, okay? It shapes their, oh, I get it now, okay? So it's not masking or covering pain. It's working in a way where it's working on parts of our system where it's starting to pull away that inflammation, okay? And that pain goes with it. And so when we think about nothing in terms of how our product works, it's a little deceiving because like you said, people want to see something, they want to feel something. And our challenge has always been, yes, you will, but you have to pay attention to what you don't. Nothing.
And there's some people that aren't as aware with their own body.
That is true.
To be able to realize what is changing physiologically with themselves, to be able to understand that something is not there anymore. And now you don't feel that. And now you're feeling better. That's hard to understand for some people.
Exactly. For example, we know we've got studies and again, anybody has any question about anything that we talk about or whatever we do, one thing they'll know is my thing is I never make a statement or claim that we cannot back up. So we reference PubMed, we reference the National Center for Biotechnology Information, NCBI, National Institutes of Health, and so on and so forth. And then we bring these studies and we put them on Hemptium.com where people can download them and read them at their convenience. Now they're kind of hard to read at sometimes because they're very technical,
it took me,
right? Right. Exactly. And so we want to help you guys break down and say, okay, here's what the abstract says. Here's what they're saying in here. And then slowly, but surely you'll start getting the hang of it. Okay. But as one example, we know that the anti-inflammatory action of cannabidiol in the format that we've got it, okay, in a form that your body has been able to absorb, that we know through blood test and through testing plasma, we see the presence of the cannabinoid there in plasma. This product is hundreds of times higher in its anti-inflammatory action than a product called acetylsalicylic acid. And most people understand that to be aspirin. So how many people are going to say, okay, how much aspirin can you take? And, before all of a sudden you have gastrointestinal bleeding, which is not a fun thing. It's not something that any medical doctor would recommend. That's why typically adults are saying, hey, here's the 81 milligram buffered aspirin. If you have, say, some heart issues, and doctors will want to watch and get involved in that. So we're dealing with a compound that is extremely effective, and we have to know how to use that. Okay, so the nanotechnology that we've applied to it and the stuff that we hear from folks is a combination of hearing how they are taking the material, the bioactive, helping them along the way with understanding how it works, how much they need in the body for it to work, and understanding what it's like to feel or sense when something is working. And so that's part of the difficulty, to be quite honest. Part of the difficulty in this world, and I'll just focus on the United States, even though we've got a very large international network, is just having somebody that's willing to learn and listen and start paying attention to some things, okay? Because it's so easy to get a little, pop of THC, Delta 8, Delta 10, Delta 9, whatever, and you're going to feel something. Absolutely. And is that good? Is there medicinal benefits to those? Absolutely. Okay, but that's another thing. When they get on this material, there's this expectation of what they've seen all over the internet. They saw it at the convenience store. They see it at the little strip mall that has the 14 different CBD shops and the little neon weed sign hanging up. And they have no idea what they're about to experience. They have no idea what to expect. And so a part of it is walking through and saying, okay, here's what we need to do. And in fact, we started encouraging people a year ago to get with your doctor, okay, get a blood test, get a blood panel, and let's start watching that, okay, with you and your doctor, and then with your doctor's blessing and us, let's pay attention, let's move you down this path. And so that's really what we try to do is when you talk about effectivity, it's really more of understanding what the science actually does, not any anecdotal, hey, it worked great for Jim, worked great for Susie, why didn't it work for me? Okay, so we want everybody to be able to come together And it's been a slow process because generally by nature, people, they want to hit up Google. And of course, the disinformation and the deception on Google scientifically is, if you don't know how to wade through it, you're in big trouble. So we've done fairly well. And that's one of the things we're so excited about, having a relationship with Healing Project of Orange County and Jesse and Isabel, is that you've got that reach out to just so many people. And you can say, hey, come into our little group. Let's help you. Let's work on this, and let's use the full breadth of botanical chemistry to our advantage to help you out.
Well, healing is really important to us, and I know it is to you guys too. So coming together is magnificent.
Well, those last couple of years that the last couple of years that we've been working together, we have noticed a lot of different benefits to taking your guys' product within ourselves. Isabel and I both take it. We give it to our daughters. We give it to our pets. We give it to our family members. Everybody that we know is on it. My mother's on it. I almost feel like anybody could take this, really, because there's always something that, in my opinion, the CBD can help you with. Just right now, how the climate is with the world, there's so much, insecurity, anxieties, craziest going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
The CBD by itself, just a little CBD a day, will help your brain stabilize, will help you have less anxiety.
That's for anybody.
Will help you sleep better, will help you with, your diet, your mood, everything. And so I've told you, Craig, a bunch of times, I think everybody needs to be on this right now, because how it affects people, it's almost like one of these things that can stabilize everybody's mood to the point where people aren't having so much anxiety, feeling like, oh my God, what am I going to do? My life is so crazy, and pain, inflammation. Yeah. I'm not kidding you.
Head pain.
Yeah, when we tell you this stuff is like godsend, because my mom, who's had so many ailments, and my dad passed away, so she's like really depressed and having all these issues. She's benefiting from it. My friends that we've been giving it to, they're benefiting. The animal, everybody is benefiting from it.
Right. One of the things that we like to tell people that we deal with when they have those questions is, let's frame it like this. I do believe that there is a place, okay? Whether we can get there in general as humanity, I don't know, because of course it requires some proactive moves and steps to get yourself into the right frame of mind as far as health is concerned.
Exactly.
But generally, yes, most people, and in fact, we all are created with the ability to use these cannabinoids. Our body has an endogenous system to recognize the chemistry and put it to work. Now, with that being said, the one caveat I'd always tell certain people is there is what's called the grapefruit effect. And basically put is, there are certain medications that some people, in fact, a lot of people, unfortunately, are on. And cannabidiol can have an interactive over positive, over negative with some of these medications. And they call it the grapefruit effect. So some people have, like, say, for example, warfarin. They'll have on their little bottle of pharmaceutical prescription, they'll have a little label that'll say, do not use with grapefruit or something to that matter. So we put together a list and put it on Hemptium. And if you have any of these medicines that you take that you're afraid has some, for example, we know that certain medicines will be de-amplified. Okay, the effect of certain medications will be de-amplified with CBD in the system. Well, your doctor needs to know that. Okay. Conversely, in other cases, it amplifies the effect of some medications. So all we would tell people is, look, develop a relationship with your doctor if you don't already have it, and have that open conversation with them. Have that conversation. If they're completely closed out to the idea of learning about the chemistry that's going on with this botanical, then, I would suggest maybe finding a doctor who will listen to you and work with you and get your blood tests. And again, if we can work with certain people, there's some medications, and some people are never coming off. We know that. But if you can work with folks and say, okay, we're just going to watch things. We're going to watch how this medicine gets amplified, de-amplified on this amount of CBD, because on the side of the Nano CBD side, since there is such a much greater absorption rate, that absorption rate also equals a much greater load into the system. Now, for most of us, our bodies know exactly what to do with it. Okay, so then dosaging, you're right, becomes a very critical thing. We want to watch that and maintain that. But we always at least approach things from that level. Is that, can it help everybody? Well, it's in all of us. Okay, the relatable chemistry is in you when you're born. Okay, it stays with you throughout your entire life until you die. So yes, these compounds can work together synergistically, and we would hope that they'd get with their doctor and figure out how they can use them as well if they're on one of those medications that has a slight conflict.
Now, and thank you for that, Craig. I have noticed though within myself, Isabel and I, we've tried the product in high dosages just to see if there's any type of a negative or adverse reaction, because people want to know, right? They want to,
yes.
How about if I take too much? Is it going to affect me in a weird way? Isabel and I, we've tried it. I've actually done 10 scoops all at once. What is recommended to start with is 1 scoop. We've done 1, gone to 2, gone to 3, 5, 10.
Yes.
I'm at 10 scoops 3 times a day. Now, I don't recommend really anybody do this, because what I've noticed is it does help me. It's a weird thing. It's helping me lose weight. It's helping me burn fat. It's helping me not have as much cravings for sugars. It's helping me with my own issues that I have, which I'm, kind of high blood pressure-y, pre-diabetic, just because of my family's history. I don't take any prescription drugs at all.
Right.
I just take CBD, and it manages all of that. My weight manages to stay kind of good, even if I eat bad.
Right.
I told you the other day, I started skateboarding, my inflammation's down so much that I'm able to start doing things. I'm doing handstands in the front yard with my daughter. Sure. And it's doing things that I know for a fact, if I was on prescriptions, those wouldn't do as good. Right. They would probably have some side effects. So what I'm saying is, yeah, there are some things that the CBD might counteract with, but what I've noticed with clients that we've helped, it's not that big a deal if we do it right.
It's not. Yeah. And that's why I say it's one of those things that you cover as from the science perspective. It's something that you just want to say, look,
it's there.
If you're on one of these medications, okay, just at least talk to your doctor and get some advice from them. Just do that simply. The other thing is, and you bring up a very good point, and that is, let's just call it overdosing or taking too much, whatever you would say.
Yeah.
Okay. We've seen for the last couple of years, we've been sending out this study that was done to certain clients that have these questions, is that we had a study that was shown, and I think it was, if I remember right, it was a double-blind, peer-reviewed study. I think it was 11,000 participants in this over the period of 2 years. And the study was done on, is there a level of cannabidiol, a CBD? Is there a level in which things start to become a problem? And we had seen this test go all the way up to, I think, between 1,500 and 1,600 milligrams per day.
Wow.
Without any liver toxicity. So we're not seeing the enzymes in a blood test that you would normally see. We don't see a lot of liver taxation, in other words. So the question at the end of the study was basically, what is the upper limit? Okay. And what does our body do with it? One of the interesting things that came out of that study became a corollary study. And that was, what happens to some of the CBD, the cannabidiol, when your body doesn't use it on the CB1 and CB2 receptors? Well, it turns out that we know anywhere from about 8 to 10% of the CBD in your body that's not used to trigger your genetic operations or genetic expressions or whatever, it settles into white adipose fat tissue. And the interesting part of that, the really interesting part of that people have not really considered, is that when CBD, when that molecule is in white adipose fat tissue, it starts to convert it to brown adipose fat tissue. Energy fat. There you go. Now, I know people are going to take this and they're going to take this the wrong way. I'm telling you, don't take this the wrong way. However, we've got testimonials from people who have changed literally nothing in their life. They've not changed their diet. They've not changed their eating habits. And these are people that will say, okay, I get a bacon, egg, and cheese at McDonald's in the morning. And then in the afternoon, maybe I have a 6-inch Subway, and then I have a light dinner. Okay. So they're not radically moving up or down all day. They're just kind of have the standard diet. That's good or bad, right? Well, these people are saying, I'm losing weight and my jeans are getting looser and my shirts are fitting different. And there's no explanation for it in their mind. They're like, well, wait a minute. Okay, well, I'm not exercising. I'm not doing anything. What happens? And so there is that actually taking place. And it's evident enough that it really is getting attention. And that's another one of those, let's just call it a great side effect of having a product that is so bioavailable, gets into your system so much that which you don't use, our bodies have already figured out a mechanism to be able to use it and turn it into energy. And when you burn brown adipose fat tissue for energy, it's gone. Okay, it's out of your system. So we're not just moving fat cells around from your belly to your bottom to your, you know what I'm saying? So it's a fascinating thing. These are these offshoot studies that are being conducted all the time. And we're trying to keep on top of those so we can get these out to folks. And some of them, frankly, I can tell you right now, are so amazing. They're so incredible that we couldn't even put them on the website. I mean, because I don't think that would necessarily not cause a problem with some of the regulatory bodies. It would be as if we're trying to make a statement or a claim. But it's so exciting that we just put the studies and the information up on the website and let people read that for themselves.
Yeah, I like that part.
Well, Craig, that's so much information that I'm pretty sure we're going to need to have you on the show again on a regular basis. I'm pretty sure that we're going to need to pick your brain, a lot more than this. There's so many things that we're going to need to touch on. So what I'd like to do is hopefully have you on the show again down the road as a regular guest. Hopefully you're okay with that.
Yeah, no, count me in. I mean, I'm going to leave your audience with something here that I've been thinking about for a long time. And if you don't mind, I'd like to say this because our world it feels like it's upside down for most of us. And there's so much good. There's so much good happening, but yet there's so much negative that we've seen out there. Mm-hmm. One of the things that's really come onto our radar that I want your people to know is that as we get deeper into the science, as we get deeper into what you guys are doing, okay, I am really going to encourage people to get out a notepad and a pen or pencil, whatever, and write physically down some of the information. And we'll try to make it obvious, the stuff we want to write down. We want them to pull down the documents, hard copy documents off the website and have them while they're available. What we're seeing right now in the world of science, and it's not really affecting some areas of science, it seems to be affecting the human level of science as far as our immune systems and stuff go, but we're seeing information just disappear. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now you can form an opinion on why that is. We have our opinion, but I guess none of that matters if you can't find the information that you need. So as we go, we're going to have information after these podcasts that we're going to post to the website, provide to you guys that you can put in a hard copy downloadable on your website. People can pull down and get the information, get it while they can get it, so that they're not counting on this, a video or something a year from today, because that might be pulled, it might be gone. So we haven't even begun to scratch the surface of the power of what we're dealing with here. And we just covered just a little scratch of the information. So you guys, whenever you need us, we'll be ready for you.
Now, if anybody wants to go out and check your Nano Cbd powder, they just go to the website.
They just go to hemptium.com, and we've got a special arrangement just for, we never run sales. Mm-hmm. We don't do any marketing for Hemptium. We don't do anything like that. We only have verified partners like yourselves, and you are our main partner in California. And I think you have a code, if I'm not mistaken, that is just for you guys.
So for all of our viewers, we have a very, very special code that Hemptium was very generous to provide for us to help those of you who are interested in getting some of their product. You can go directly through their website and punch in our code, which is Healing Project OC
at the checkout.
Healing Project OC at the checkout, and it'll give you discounts off the product. I believe it's free shipping as well.
Yep, there'll be free shipping, and we've kind of we're going to amp up a little bit of the discount. I'm not going to say it now because we're going to make it exciting. Awesome. But yeah, it's and this is something that is not out. We have partners all over this planet, and Healing Project OC is the only one where we have a code that will apply this way. That's how much we believe in what you guys are doing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Our viewers have asked us before, hey, can we buy it directly? Yes, please buy it directly. Now, I do want to say one little caveat here. Hemptium is not a dosing, warehouse. They're not going to give you a bunch of dosing recommendations. So if you guys buy the product from Hemptium, feel free to contact us at Healing Project to give you information on how to dose. You can contact us through the website or schedule an appointment to talk. And the information that we're going to give you on how to dose their product, it's absolutely free. It's going to be something that we're going to work together with Hemptium to make this a better world and to help so many people. So thank you so much, Craig, for being on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So let's just really quickly go over, because the procedures in which people try and get a hold of us, I just want to go over that real quick. People say, hey, how can I get a hold of Jesse? I've heard that before. So there's a couple different ways. You guys can typically get a hold of us through our website. Like I said, healing-project.info, or you can reach us through the Facebook groups and even private message me somehow, but preferably we'd like to go through the scheduling part of it. Free
consultation.
Yeah. So it's a free consultation when we get, and all we're going to do is just talk about
information.
How is it that we can
Answer
try and help
questions.
your doggy? Yeah. Right. And so just know we're going to ask you some questions like, what's your dog's age? What's your dog's weight? And what's your dog's diagnosis? From there, we want to know, is he on any prescription drugs? Has he been eating? And this goes for everybody. It's not just our animals, but this is basically the same information we would ask for everybody. But with those variables, we can now determine what's the best course of action with which proper medicines and all the protocols. But yeah, that's basically it. So just to recap, we're going to have a couple more shows come up. I think the next show that we're going to have, I'm hoping to have Tino on the show to talk about Shorty and go over, how we helped him out with Shorty. And his protocols and stuff. His dog had lymphoma, was diagnosed in 2016, somewhere on there, with stage 4 lymphoma. And she did very well for many, many years. She was doing very well until Father Time caught up to her and she passed away from old age. But just know, guys, we're going to have these podcasts going on a regular basis. So for now, I want to thank my wife again for being on the show with me.
Thank you, love.
Thank you so much for being on the show with us. And I want to thank our viewers for tuning in. And until next time, thank you very much for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.